It was almost midnight when Riya's car climbed the final turn of the fog-covered mountain road. For the past 5 hours, she had been driving alone, replaying the last message her brother Kabir had sent before vanishing. His voice trembled through the speaker. "Riya, don't tell anyone. Come alone. If I'm not there when you arrive, find the house at the end of Ridge Lane." It didn't sound like Kabir. It sounded like someone who knew he was running out of time. Every instinct in her body told her to turn back, but the fear of losing him pushed her forward. Ridge Lane was a narrow strip cutting through the edge of the forest. The moment she turned onto it, her phone signal died completely. A cold wind swept through the trees, making the branches rattle like bones. The house appeared out of the darkness, a towering, decaying structure, leaning slightly, as if exhausted from standing for so many years. Its windows were pitch black, and the paint had peeled to reveal long scars in the wood. It looked abandoned, but something about it felt awake, listening. Riya parked the car and stepped out. The silence was unnatural. Even the insects had gone quiet. As she approached the gate, she noticed it was already unlatched, swinging gently with the wind. She pushed it open, its rusty hinges screaming into the night. Every crunch of gravel beneath her boots sounded too loud. The front door was also slightly open, just enough to feel like an invitation or a warning. Inside, the air was heavy and cold. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and the faint smell of damp wood mixed with something metallic. She called out Kabir's name, but only her echo returned. She raised her flashlight, and the beam illuminated footprints in the thick, dust-fresh ones leading deeper into the house. Her pulse quickened. Kabir had been here. The house seemed to close behind her as she walked, the darkness swallowing the hallway. Halfway down the corridor, she heard its soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, 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 coming from inside the walls. She froze, not even breathing. A moment later, the tapping traveled along the wall, moving quickly behind her, as though something was crawling between the wooden panels. Riya backed away slowly, then forced herself to follow the footprints to a door at the end of the corridor. The door was locked, but the hinges were weak. Riya kicked it hard, and it burst open into a small study room. Papers were scattered everywhere, furniture overturned, and on the desk was Kabir's notebook. She flipped it open. The first page made her stomach drop. "If you're reading this, I didn't escape." She kept reading. "They live in the walls. They hear every sound. Don't trust the silence." Her breath shook, and she closed the notebook. Suddenly, the tapping started again, this time right behind her. She spun around, flashlight trembling in her hand. The wall bulged, the wooden panels bending outward, as if something behind them was trying to push its way through. Riya stumbled back, grabbing the edge of the table for support. For a second, everything went silent. Then a loud thud came from the ceiling, followed by rapid scratches traveling across the beams. Panicked, Riya ran out of the room and headed toward the stairs. She had just reached the landing when she froze. At the top of the staircase stood a figure, tall, messy-haired, clothes torn, and eyes wide with fear. It was Kabir. His lips trembled as he whispered, "You shouldn't have come." Riya's relief was overwhelming and heartbreaking at the same time. She stepped toward him, but he raised a shaking hand. "They're listening," he said, glancing nervously at the walls. "They hear every word. They live inside this house, Riya. Not ghosts, not animals, something else." Before she could ask anything, the wall behind Kabir split open like a mouth tearing itself apart. Long, shadowy limbs crawled out, pulling themselves free. Kabir screamed, "Run!" as the creature grabbed his arm. Riya bolted down the stairs, nearly slipping as she stumbled into the living room. She ran to the front door, but it was gone. The frame was still there, but the entire door had vanished, replaced by a solid wall. The house was changing around her. Rooms stretched and shrank. Doorways appeared and disappeared. It was a maze, alive and aware. The tapping began again, this time from the floor. The wooden planks beneath her feet vibrated. She dashed into the kitchen and grabbed the heaviest knife she could find. Something scraped against the floorboards, following her every step. Suddenly, the kitchen window shattered, showering her with glass. A cold gust of wind blew in, but the outside view was gone, just endless darkness instead of the forest. Desperate, Riya remembered the notebook and Kabir's warning, "Don't trust the silence." She realized the house reacted to quiet and to fear. She forced herself to breathe loudly, muttering words just to make noise. For a moment, the house stilled, as if confused. She took that moment to run. Riya found a narrow service door behind the kitchen shelves and shoved it open. A hidden staircase spiraled downward. As she descended, her flashlight flickered, shadows stretching unnaturally across the walls. The basement was colder, darker, and filled with the sound of whispering. Voices layered over each other, impossible to make out, but they grew louder as she walked deeper. At the far end of the basement, she found a door barred shut with chains. Something banged from the other side, 3 loud, desperate knocks. She recognized the pattern. Kabir had used the same knock when they were children. She tore the chains off and flung the door open. Kabir stumbled out, coughing, eyes wild. "They tried to keep me quiet," he said, gripping her arm. "We need to get out before the house closes again." Riya nodded, helping him up. Together, they ran up the stairs, but the house groaned angrily, the walls rippling like a living creature. The staircase twisted under their feet. Suddenly, a dark figure crawled out from the ceiling, its long limbs reaching toward them. Kabir shoved Riya behind him. "Go," he shouted. She hesitated, tears streaming down her face. Kabir pushed her forward. "I'll hold it off. Go now." The creature lunged, and Riya was forced to run. She heard Kabir's shout, followed by silence. She burst into the hallway, but something had changed. For the first time since entering the house, she saw light ahead, a faint glow, coming from what looked like an open door. She sprinted toward it with everything she had. The house groaned, walls slamming shut behind her like jaws snapping. Just as the doorway began to shrink, Riya jumped through. She fell onto the gravel outside, gasping, the cold night air filling her lungs. The house loomed behind her, quiet and still, as if nothing had happened. She turned around, calling Kabir's name, but the house did not answer. Not with taps, not with voices, not at all. Riya staggered toward her car and collapsed inside. Her hands shook as she tried to start the engine, but the keys slipped from her trembling fingers. When she leaned down to pick them up, she froze. There was a small scrap of paper on the passenger seat, Kabir's handwriting. "I'm still inside. Don't come back." Riya stared at the house through the windshield, tears streaming silently as the tapping began again, this time from inside the car.